You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
We are excited we get to talk about hymns here on
literally all of them.
all of them. This is true. We get to talk about all the hymns. In The Coffee Hour. We get to talk about all of them today. Thanks to Concordia University, Wisconsin for supporting The Coffee Hour. Find out more about Concordia University, Wisconsin at cuw.edu.
Live uncommon.
This is like your dream come true.
It kind of is. We're joking about it, but it's actually true. One of our church musician friends is doing a hymn sing to end all hymn sings, literally playing through the hymnal, which is like blowing my mind right now to think about singing through the entire hymnal. So we have Dr. Scott Hislop, Director of Parish Music at St. Lawrence Lutheran Church in Frankenmuth, Michigan, which is also one of my favorite places, joining us on the phone to talk about all things hymnody. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Hislop.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be with you guys.
So before we dig into the hymnal, because we could probably talk about that for days, how is your congregation doing? How has your vocation been affected in the last few weeks during this pandemic?
That's a really great question. I think the congregation has come together, as I hope many congregations have, in a very unique way. Since we are not able to gather formally on Sunday mornings any longer, our worship services are completely online now. A combination of both live streamed material where I go in and I'll sing the hymns in the liturgy and the pastor does the sermon and one of my colleagues plays the organ for things, and then we also have a pretty good archive of worship services from past years, and we've pulled on those for other materials and that. So it's a pretty varied content that we're able to offer. So we're very grateful for all of that. Frankenmuth as a community, I think, is going through the same struggles that everyone else is. Everything from people dealing with the virus itself to people coping with the shelter-in-place orders that are in effect in that. But everybody seems to have a very optimistic attitude about the future in that. So I think it's as good as can be hoped for right now. And as for me and my I'm sorry. I was just going to say, as for me and my vocation, these past couple weeks have probably been the strangest of my life. Where not being actively engaged through Holy Week and Easter was a really strange thing to experience, and I've determined I'm really not ready for retirement at all.
Well, that's something good to know. Yeah, Michigan has been hit pretty hard with the pandemic. So our prayers are with you and the congregation and all the people in Frankenmuth, that you all can stay safe during this time and still at some point be able to gather together again to sing all of these hymns. So. What made you want to do a hymn sing of the entire hymnal, other than being a hymn nerd, which is totally cool? Definitely, hands down. I am a total hymn geek, hymn nerd, however you want to phrase it. But I've had colleagues that have done this sort of thing in other parishes, usually as a fundraiser for some different activity, whether it's a concert series or to support choristers going on a trip or something like that. And it's always struck me as it'd be a really fun thing to do. And so I'd been thinking about doing this for the last couple of years as a fundraiser for our music series, our concert series at St. Lawrence, but then just decided right now, I think, we need something that's just positive, something that's just a shot in the arm, a reminder of who we are and to whom we belong. And I can think of nothing better from my standpoint than pulling out the hymnal and just starting at one end and going to the other.
So as a DCE, I'm picturing this as a lock-in, basically. This is a virtual lock-in where we're just singing hymns from the beginning to the end. And at some point, somebody's going to want to go to sleep, probably. But how long do you is it as long as a lock-in? How long do you anticipate it'll take to sing through the whole hymnal?
Well, now, again, we're not, there are parameters that are being set just so it doesn't become absurdly long.
So there are rules to this. Okay, I'm new to this.
Yeah, there are definitely rules. Otherwise, I would easily go berserk trying to do this. So what I'm doing is I'm focusing strictly on what I define as congregational song, meaning basically a hymn or chorale. And I won't be doing there are a number of refrains that are in the Lutheran Service Book that are, either they're from the Taizé tradition, which are intended to be part of corporate prayer, or there are some that are paired back with chanted texts of biblical canticles. And without having that text in there, I've decided I'm going to just step away from doing the little refrains that are paired in there. So it'll really be the core hymnody that's represented in the book.
So how many hymns do you think do you have that numbered?
I haven't dared do the math just yet. I'm guessing that it's right around the 600 mark.
Holy moly!
That's just
that's going to be with again, just to keep this all in a manageable structure. Sure. I'll do a very brief introduction and one stanza of each hymn. Because, obviously there are some hymns with many, many stanzas, and, it's just, without having a congregation or a choir there leading the words in that, I think it would start to fall in the category of vain repetition pretty quickly. So, we'll stay pretty much right on point with things.
Does this mean that we get to go through the whole church year as well?
Yeah. The very
awesome.
First hymn is Advent, and the first third of the hymnal, guessing again, is pretty much the church year, and then it gets into the larger areas from there. So, yeah.
I'm trying to remember when this was. It was last year. Maybe it was during convention. We had a hymn sing at the International Center while a bunch of people were away and didn't necessarily have regular chapel services, so we had hymn sings, and we were allowed to pick whatever hymns we wanted from the hymnal, and we were singing... I'm pretty sure we were singing Advent and Christmas hymns in the middle of Pentecost. Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. I love it. I love singing through the whole hymnal. I remember when Lutheran Service Book first came out and going to some of the workshops and getting to sing through multiple seasons throughout, at one time in one sitting. And there's something beautiful about looking at the whole church year musically, from hymns, looking at the entire church year as this whole cycle. What can we gain from doing this, from going through the whole church year? And I know there's a whole bunch more in the hymnal besides just the church year.
Well, I think certainly the going through the whole scope of the church year kind of brings home, and sitting here in the early days of the Easter season, Luther had the famous quote that you can't have the cradle without the cross, and I may be inverting the two, but you can't have Christmas without Easter or Easter without Christmas, and I think that singing through the church year just underlines the whole reason for the whole reason for Christ. I mean, the whole reason for Christ in our lives, the need for that salvation.
Is it going to be weird to have these hymns from a completely opposite season of the church year when we've just gotten into Easter?
Well, you understand, I am a church musician, so I'm already used to the planning for next Christmas.
Fair enough.
No, this is perfectly normal to me.
Do you have and I won't ask a favorite hymn because I know that's a really mean question to ask a church musician, but do you have a favorite section that you're looking forward to playing through in the hymnal?
Boy, that's actually I can actually answer hands down. My favorite hymn in the book is "Lord, Thee I Love with All My Heart."
Yeah.
As far as a section goes, that's much more difficult because I would have to say I love whatever section I'm playing at the time.
That is a fair answer to that question. How much time does this take for you to practice, or because hymns are so familiar for a church musician, is this something you can kind of just pick up and play?
Well, I like to look at it this way. I've been practicing for this for about 36 years. So, there are a lot of trips around the sun that have been building up towards doing this, and there are more than a few hymns in the book as I've been doing a cursory glance through that I have never played before. And so I've been doing my best to at least take one trip through them. But for the most part, I feel like I'm going to be cursing myself if I make this statement, but I think that everything should be manageable. That's as close as I'll come to saying that I can just knock them all off.
Famous last words.
Correct.
How does working through the whole hymnal, even in just preparation for this hymn sing, how does that help you as a church musician for planning for music throughout the rest of the year? As you were saying, discovering some that you hadn't played before. Does that open your eyes to maybe hymns to bring into congregational life during those other seasons of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are definitely some that I've come across that I thought, wow, why have we never done these? And I've got my little list being built already to hopefully start incorporating some of these. I think for everyone, it's easy. You fall into your patterns of what's comfortable, what the congregation knows, and et cetera, et cetera. I definitely have a list of new things that I want to try out coming from this project. So I'm very grateful for that.
Why is church music important right now for this time?
Boy, church music at this time, church music in general just has a unique way of expressing the unexpressible. Whether it's grief or joy or sorrow, music can express these things in ways that other things can't. Specifically, church music, and even more specifically, hymnody, which is intended to be a corporate vehicle, something that we all join our voices together in singing, has a wonderful way of unifying thought and word and hopefully deed by coming together and singing these hymns. It's a reminder of who we are as Christians, as Lutherans, and most certainly to whom we belong to.
So going back to your list of hymns that you want to now introduce to the congregation or bring back, maybe, what is it about some of those hymns that caught your eye, maybe, that you want to now bring them in front of your congregation?
I have to say, first and foremost, the text. Because there's some of the texts are just wonderful, and it's important to put those words into people's minds and hearts. And in most of the cases, the ones that really catch my eye and ear are the ones that are paired with the perfect melody, because that's the easiest way to plant that into another person's soul. And so I'd have to say that the text first, and then the music with it.
So the hymn sing coming up very soon. How can friends participate in this hymn sing to end all hymn sings?
Well, I believe it's going to be offered from St. Lawrence's website, www.stlawrence.org. And also, I believe it's going to be a Facebook Live event, probably from our Facebook page. So there are two ways to join in right there. And it's slated to begin at 8 o'clock on Friday morning. And hopefully we have 8 hours of free cable access here. So I'm hoping to get the majority of it covered in an 8-hour time span, but I'm going to keep going till I'm finished. So we'll see how long it all takes at the end of the day.
Good, good. So that's 8 a.m. Michigan time, or also known as Eastern time.
Eastern. Yeah, correct. Thank you.
Michigan time.
Michigan time. That's right. We're talking with Dr. Scott Hislop, Director of Parish Music at St. Lawrence Lutheran Church in Frankenmuth, Michigan. We have more hymns to talk about when we come back. You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
You're a miracle. You know that, right? A living, breathing, one-of-a-kind miracle. You were created to stand apart, to share your gifts in the service of others, to make an uncommon impact in a common world. And at Concordia University, it's our mission to help you do that, to live uncommon. To learn more about Concordia, go to cuw.edu.
Welcome back to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth. We're talking about hymns today, and actually, hashtag all the hymns is finally appropriate today because this is a hymn sing to end all hymn sings, singing all the way through the Lutheran Service Book with Dr. Scott Hislop from St. Lawrence Lutheran Church in Frankenmuth, Michigan. So, Dr. Hislop, we were talking about all of these hymns and why we would want to do this now to bring some joy into our lives. What is the structure of this hymn sing going to look like? What are you going to be actually starting with?
Well, actually, I've given that quite a bit of thought of, whether I was just going to start with the first hymn in the hymnal, which is, the Advent of our King. But I also thought, here we are again, we've just missed all being in communal worship on Easter Sunday, so I couldn't think of a better way to start out with than starting with This is the Feast of Victory from setting one of the liturgy, Richard Hillert's magisterial setting of that text. And then I thought I'd bookend it with saving the doxology, praise God from whom all blessings flow, for the very end.
Outstanding. Tell us some. Obviously, we have a lot of hymns to work through, but share with us some other highlights that you're looking forward to in the hymn sing.
Oh, my goodness. Some other highlights. Everything from, there are a couple different versions of hymns, some that, depending on what part of the country I think you live in, that are familiar to others and not. And I'm looking forward to playing some of the alternate tunes, like My Hope is Built on Nothing Less has, Magdalene, I think I'm safe in saying, is the more common of the two tunes, and then the flip side of that one is a tune called The Solid Rock, which is more of a gospel era hymn tune in that. And I did not grow up singing that particular tune, though I know there are other people that think that that's the only tune it should be sung to. So I'm looking forward to doing some of those pairings of things. I am concerned, though. A Mighty Fortress has the two versions, the isometric and the rhythmic chorales in there, and I'm not so. I'm hoping that I'm actually able to play the isometric, which is the one where the rhythms are all flattened out, because my whole life has been with the syncopated, the rhythmic version of the chorale. So. I'm going to have to really concentrate on that one.
The adventures.
The adventures, yes. Yeah.
Are there any hymns that have an alternate setting or an alternate tune that isn't actually in the hymnal? Are there any alternate settings in the hymnal accompaniment that we don't actually see in our Pew edition?
Yeah, there's this whole section, the accompaniment edition, there's a whole section that has a gray edge to it, which is the electronic edition it's referred to. Hymns that if you have the service builder for a Lutheran service book that you can access through there. So I think probably one of the more famous ones would be Ride On in Majesty, which I think many people know to Winchester New, that tune, and in here it is the King's Majesty, which I believe was the tune it was paired with in Lutheran Worship, predecessor to Lutheran Service Book.
Aha. So speaking of things
there are a few others.
Speaking of things that aren't actually in our Pew edition, are you taking requests for this in addition to what we have in our Lutheran Service Book?
Yeah, I am. We, after consulting with our senior pastor at St. Lawrence, decided that I would, if there are hymns that are near and dear to people's hearts that they would like to hear, I will definitely throw those onto the list too. Saving those for the very end of the hymnathon, the marathon of hymns, whatever you want to call it. So I mean, and I've been receiving a few beloved gospel type hymns to even one from the 1941 Lutheran hymnal that I had long forgotten about, but I'm kind of looking forward to reacquainting myself with it.
I'm curious, what is that one? What's
boy, I know that it's. Oh golly, it's number 150 in the Lutheran hymnal, which is open right over here, and it's entitled "Lord Jesus, Thou Art Going Forth," and it's a Lenten hymn, and it's got a curious structure in terms of the text. It's a dialogue. It's between the soul and Jesus.
I don't think I've ever sung that one. I opened my Lutheran hymnal in front of me too.
I have a very vague remembrance of maybe having sung it once when I was much younger, but I surely haven't touched it since then. And there was a young guy, a student at Concordia University, Ann Arbor, who has requested this hymn. So we'll do it for him.
I'm seeing a whole new challenge here that perhaps we need to sing through like 3 hymnals, not just one. But sing through 3 hymnals. Don't you think that sounds like a good challenge?
Well, you let me know how that works for you.
Stump the church musicianists.
Hey, there's a new segment on the Coffee Hour.
Yes.
I do like that you're revealing like the church musician secrets here this morning too, like what's in the accompaniment edition and things like that. We talked earlier quite a bit about the various seasons and singing through the seasons of the church year, but there's so much more than just the scope of seasons in our hymnal as well. Are there other sections of the hymnal, or what are some of the highlights from the other sections besides just the seasons of the church year that you're looking forward to? Is there a hymn in a particular section that you're just eager to get to that maybe you haven't sung in a while?
Well, I'll be honest, and again, it kind of testifies to my status as a hymn geek, that there are hymns in every section of the hymnal that I'm going to be eager to get to. So, which is a good thing, because you've got those landmarks to keep working towards. But the section of hope and comfort in the hymnal, and great hymns, evening and morning, a great Paul Gerhardt text, which is so appropriate to this time in our lives. Jesus Christ, my sure defense. Let us ever walk with Jesus. Really, truly, the hymns that I think many people, if they pause and think about it, would realize that they're the hymns that have kind of narrated their lives all the way through.
I think I can also attest to that. My favorite list of hymns includes favorites from each section, because you can't, I don't know if I have just one favorite. You have to go section by section. What are some of the other ones in the other sections that you're looking forward to? There's a lot of different sections in our hymnal.
There are. I'm a big fan of the Henry Purcell tune, Westminster Abbey, which is used for the great Steve Starkey text, Light of Light, O Soul Begotten, which is a beginning of the service hymn to Dearest Jesus at Thy Word, which is a fantastic, chorale and tune to get to spend some time with. Certainly Lift High the Cross, is a great one, and again important for our time. Probably a personal favorite tune for me would be Wie schön leuchtet, How Brightly Shines the Morning Star. Such a powerful tune and great text. The list goes on and on. As I say.
Yes, I can imagine. What are you hoping people will get out of this? I mean, we know the value of church music, and we know that people hopefully love hymnody. But what are you hoping people will kind of gain from being immersed into our hymnal for 8 hours or more?
I'm really hoping that they're able to find some hope and comfort from having this on as background music, or however they wish to treat it on Friday. I'm hoping that they see, and they by hearing this they have a feeling, especially those that are sheltering in place by themselves, that they know that they're not alone, that not only is God with them, but there are a lot of other people that are united with them through Christ's body and blood, that are with them and supporting them and praying for them.
Thanks be to God for great music that brings that comfort, that hope of Christ. All right, so just doing some math, if this is starting around 8 a.m. Eastern time, this is and roughly 600 hymns. This really is going to be an all-day event. Basically a marathon. It's a marathon. So I have to ask, for your own safety, are you going to be properly hydrated, and are you going to be taking breaks? Because that's a long day.
I'm actually a marathon runner, and so I do know the value of hydration and so forth. So yes, I've already got my Powerade lined up to have up in the balcony, and I'm going to have some bananas with me to keep my brain functioning in that. As far as breaks go, I'm not planning on necessarily taking any breaks. I find once I get in a groove, it's just easier to keep rolling, and I'm sure there will be a point that I'll have to take a break to stretch or something. But I'm really not building in time to account for that. And I'm not planning on taking, for heaven's sake, I'm not planning on taking a lunch break or anything like that, just because I'm sitting there playing. It's not like it's not a highly aerobic event going on or anything. So I think that it should work out just very well.
I think that it takes. Well, I'm not an organist, but just watching some organists, it's a full body workout. If you're using the pedals too, your hands, feet, everything. That's a full body workout if you're especially all day. Well, we really do appreciate your time and sharing this great hymn sing with us, working through, singing through the hymnal. So many great hymns to be sung this Friday from St. Lawrence Lutheran Church in Frankenmuth, Michigan. Our guest today, Dr. Scott Hislop. He's the Director of Parish Music there at St. Lawrence. Thank you so much for being our guest and joining us on the Coffee Hour. God bless you, and God bless your hands and feet as you prepare for probably, 8 hours of continuous hymns. Thank you so much, Dr. Hislop, for being our guest.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golsa.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@KFUO.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.